The following video discusses topics that some may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Our story today is a heartbreaking one. It takes place in Chatham, Ontario, a low-crime, quiet, agricultural city approximately 80 kilometers east of Windsor. The Jenkins family consisted of parents Brian, a salesman for an industrial chemical company, and Leslie, a mental health worker. They welcomed the birth of their first child, Mason, who was born in 1977, followed by a daughter in 1979 named Jennifer. Mason's aunt describes him as a cute kid with big brown eyes who was mischievous, loved horses, and was always getting into trouble. Jennifer, on the other hand, was the polar opposite of her big brother. She was bubbly but shy and would often giggle. Her parents said she had a large circle of friends and a magnetic personality that would draw everyone close to her. She was a perfectionist who made sure her hair was just right before leaving the house. Mason's mischievousness started to get the best of him. From the age of 12, he had been in and out of institutions for minor theft charges. His mom said that he would often steal cars to take them on joyrides, only to return them to their respective driveways with a fresh car wash and a full tank of gas. On Christmas Day in 1997, Mason was released from jail for another minor theft charge. Brian and Leslie were so happy to have Mason back home and be able to spend Christmas together. No one could have ever imagined that it was going to be their last as a family of 4. In the evening of January 6, 1998, Brian and Leslie came home to start dinner. Leslie had noticed a stain in the living room carpet, leading across the room and heading down to the basement. She called Brian, and he went downstairs to investigate. That is when he made the gruesome discovery. Laying on the floor was their daughter Jennifer. She was covered in blood and unresponsive. Leslie quickly called 911, but it was too late. Jennifer, only 18 years old, was dead. Their next thought went to Mason. Where was he? Was he okay? When the police arrived, they found Jennifer in the basement. Also found was 2 newly written wills belonging to Brian and Leslie, sitting on the dining room table, stating Mason as the sole beneficiary. At the police station, Brian described themselves as normal folk with no criminal history. They had never taken part in drugs nor alcoholism. They just couldn't understand who would want to hurt their daughter and take away the bright future that she had waiting for her. It was at this time that the police had found 20-year-old Mason. He had rode a horse across the city and stolen a vehicle. He was pulled over and brought in to be questioned about his sister's murder. Mason claimed that afternoon, while he was upstairs and Jennifer was watching TV, a white van pulled up to the house where 4 men got out, 2 with guns, and they came through the front door. He said that he was taken, but he wasn't sure of the fate of Jennifer. The officer made Mason aware that they didn't believe his story. They knew that hitmen wouldn't have taken the time to move her body down to the basement. But Mason was adamant that he was innocent and that Jennifer had lost her life to hitmen due to his unpaid debt. He claimed that he had no reason to hate his sister and he would never hurt her. He then dropped a bombshell.
Do not believe that there was anybody that showed up at your house in a van.
What are you trying to say?
The story doesn't make sense. What am I trying to say? You're charged with murder.
Right. I didn't murder anybody. I got no reason to lie to you.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Sure you do.
I don't have any
You're
reason.
here for a first-degree murder. You have reason to lie. You have motive to lie.
I can see that, yes.
Did you hate her that much?
No, I didn't hate my sister. Why would I hate my sister? She bent over backwards for me.
Yes, she did.
She cares more than,
Probably more
ever.
than anybody for you.
Huh? She had more faith in me than sometimes my parents did.
Yep.
I got no reason to hate her. I got no reason to blow her fucking head off. I have no reason, whatsoever to do anything like that.
I told you she was shot in the head.
Mason had just told the police that he didn't know what had happened to his sister, but then minutes later blurts out that he would never blow her head off. It was this slip of the tongue that helped convict him of first-degree murder and sentence him to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years. Brian and Leslie were then faced with the decision to lose both their children or to support Mason with his claim of innocence. They decided the latter and embarked on a 3-year-long trial with the support of their family behind them in their decision. Not everyone was supportive, however. Both Brian and Leslie could feel the eyes on them when they would go out in public. Brian recalled about how painful it was to see a friend a few feet away catch a glimpse of him and quickly walk the other way. In 2007, Mason had exhausted all of his legal appeals, and he decided that it was at that time he needed to start to tell the truth about what happened that day in January 1998. He said on that afternoon, he came downstairs into the living room where Jennifer was sitting in a chair watching TV and eating popcorn. He said he was talking with her about how her day was at school. He placed his rifle down on the coat rack and bumped it, and when he went to grab it, it went off, shooting Jennifer in the chest. He said after checking her pulse and realizing that she was dead, that he needed to come up with a story to protect himself. He figured that he needed to make it look like someone else had done it, which is when he came up with the story of the 4 hitmen. Mason believed that someone wouldn't have shot her just once, so he decided that he would need to make it look more believable and shoot her again. He ended up shooting her a total of 5 times, 3 shots in her head and 2 to her chest. He then dragged her lifeless body down the stairs and left the house to clear his head and figure out his next steps. This wouldn't be the last time that Mason would change the story about what happened that day. Later, he would admit that during his stay in jail, he felt like a failure. What made him feel worse was being spoken down to by his parents about his poor life choices. Upon release, he went back to his parents' house. He said it was a confusing time for him, feeling pressure from family over Christmas. He felt like Jennifer was successful, and he wasn't able to achieve what he really wanted to. It was at that time that he thought about killing his parents as an alternative way to get money. He figured in doing so, he would be able to get the money and the respect that he felt like he deserved, and things would sort themselves out. He had his rifle by the back door, waiting for Brian to wake up. He viewed his plan of murdering his parents as a way to break free of the authoritative control that his parents had over him, and a way to start fresh with the money that he would get from his parents' estate. However, after spending the day with his dad, he felt like he could no longer go along with that plan. He grabbed the rifle with the intent to put it in the garage, and that's when it went off, hitting Jennifer. He said it didn't actually kill her immediately like he first claimed. He said she was gurgling and moaning in pain, and instead of calling 911, he decided that he needed to end her pain by shooting her 4 more times and then fleeing before his parents got home. Police speculate that it wasn't a change of heart that changed Mason's mind. Mason had called his mom to ask when she would be coming home, and was surprised when he found out that both Leslie and Brian would be coming home together. The rifle that Mason had was a single shot and would not have been able to have killed them both at the same time. Through it all, Brian and Leslie's support for their son did not waver. For most, the thought of forgiving someone for murdering a child is inconceivable. Mason is the sole reason their lives were shattered that day. Some may even say that if Mason were their child, they would have let him rot in jail alone. I believe we can't say for sure what we would do if faced with the horrific situation that Brian and Leslie were faced with. One thing is certain, however, their love for their children is unconditional. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the heartbreaking story of Jennifer Jenkins. Until next time, please stay safe and don't forget to subscribe to stay informed on any updates to the cases.